Hello. This is a very tricky whole board problem. It's Chinese rules, 7.5 komi, black to play. If you would like to analyze it for yourself, there will be a link in the description where you can play out variations. So pause the video now and go and give it a shot if you want. And now let's analyze it together. So first of all, let's maybe just make some of these groups live. Let's make it like this and then focus first on this upper left corner and look what's going on here. So black can choose between making a seki like this or start a ko like this, but white takes the ko first, so it's maybe a little bit difficult for black to fight this ko depending on the situation. So black can basically wait until black knows for sure whether they want to go for this seki or the ko. White, on the other hand, can start a ko like this. Again, black takes first in this case, so now it's better for black. White would like not to be the one starting the ko. But white does not have the option to make it a seki. If white plays here, black can just outright kill the group like this. So it's an interesting asymmetry. Black has a choice, white doesn't have a choice. So it would make sense in a game that this position is left for a while on the board, since neither side wants to be the one starting the ko, and then in the end it's black who decides whether to make it into a seki or a ko. Oops, let me put that one back. Then we can look at the lower right. This is just a common bend 4 in the corner shape. I won't go into the depth about all the nuances of this shape. Basically what's happening here is that black can't play anything locally here. Black will just die. So it's white who can decide when to start this sequence, which leads to a ko like this. And white can choose when to start a ko, and it's a ko that white takes first. So in most cases, white can kill this group, and this whole black group will do that. But it depends on the surrounding. It depends if there are unremovable ko threats on the left of the board and so on. It also can depend on the rule set. In this case, though, since in this game, this white group surrounding here is not alive, white can't afford to wait until the very end of the game, remove all ko threats, and then start this. So we're going to see the sequence happening sooner. Lastly, let's look at this black group down here. If white gets to play here, it's just dead. There's nothing black can do. So black needs to spend a move to live. Black can choose between playing here, or here, or here. All of these three live. But there's some slight differences in terms of ko threats. So this would be the most intuitive because it's a symmetrical move. It's maybe the first one that comes to mind. But actually it leaves 2 ko threats. 1 and 2 ko threats for white. While if you play either this one or the symmetrical counterpart, there's only 1 ko threat. White gets 1 ko threat, but now this is suicide. So almost always this move or this move is going to be better in this local shape for black. Okay, with all that said, let's now look back at the whole board position. We have this white chain here who is not able to live locally. So this is also too big for white to give up. But black can't go after it immediately because then white will just kill this black group down here. So black has to first live with this group down here. So let's say we follow that principle, minimizing the ko threat, and play here. Then again, white can't live up here, so the only option for white to save this chain is to start this sequence now immediately. Here, normally you would think that black has to start this ko, because if black doesn't start a ko, then white can go for this capturing race. So like in this case, white is going to win this capturing race. But if black takes a liberty up here, then white can't afford to go for the simple capturing race, because then black is going to win. Like so. So that means that by playing up here, black can force white to throw here, which lets black take the ko first, which is huge because it means the difference between who has to find the first ko threat. So now white has a ko threat here, and white takes back. And now black is basically lost. Black doesn't have a code threat. It's not big enough to just take this upper left part. White is easily winning in this case. White is ahead by 9.5 points here. And so at this point, black actually can't afford to respond to this code threat, but has to live with the group. But then white gets to follow up here, save this whole chain, and kill this black group. But at least black got to save this big part. So now, to come back in the game, the only hope for black would be to fight this Ko. It's not enough to just make Seki up here. Now again, white will be winning by, let's see, let's take this up board. White is winning by 15 points at this point. So black has to fight this Ko, but unfortunately for black, this is not a valid code threat. White can just finish up here, and even if black captures, we can do something like throw in here, Atari. Black tries to kill this group, but white just takes. And white could at this point either ignore this one or just respond and use this local code threat. So this is totally winning for white. So all that means that this first black move is not working. This one. And it's a very similar story if you try this one. Let's just look at it quickly. Same thing up to this point. And again, when white makes a code threat like this one, black has to ignore, white takes, and now there's no code threat for black here. This is not a valid code threat. So now we contrast that with, instead black starting with this move, which is actually the correct first move, going against the principle of minimizing the code threats for white. This is leaving two code threats, but it's a slightly different, there's a slight difference in the position now. But we have the same sequence here. White starts the Ko. Black doesn't want to throw in, so black goes up here. White has a code threat. Again, black has to ignore the code threat. Otherwise, black doesn't have a code threat afterwards. White captures, but now black can start this Ko up here, and this is now a good code threat. So now white is the one without a code threat, and black gets to kill the upper left. So this is actually best play for both sides. Let me just take these stones off the board and we can verify that now black is winning by 2.5 points. So interestingly enough, even though there's this general rule that you should probably play a move like this to keep it down to just one code threat, in this very particular case, it makes a difference that this move leaves after white gets to make and follow up on the code threat. There's a code threat left for black in the position afterwards. So I just thought that was a fun it was a fun challenge to construct a position like this. You will probably never get to apply this in a game, this particular idea. You should always play this move. But hopefully it was still interesting to sort of get to see some of these corner shapes in action, which can be sort of all of these shapes individually can come up in your game, even though the whole board position won't. So I hope you found it interesting. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.